So I keep getting asked how the finances worked out on my Stinger I just totaled. So because there's so many questions, I figured I might do a small video, give a full detailed explanation, since there was so many that wanted to hear about it. So I bought my Stinger back in December of 2017, within a week or so of it being released, because it was released in early December. Some dealerships had it the last couple of days of November. One cool thing to note about my last Stinger is I know it was the first, if not one of the first couple Stingers that were ceramic silver that was sold in the US. The reason I know that is I work at a Kia dealership. I worked at one then, and that one was special ordered for me, and my district sales manager put a rush on delivery on it for me, since he knows it's going to be my car. So just something cool about it, but it's gone now. So when I bought my car, I got a really good deal on it. Of course, I worked at the dealership. At the time, it was an incredible deal. Now it's something you can actually walk into some Kia dealerships and work a deal for. And I was a little bit on their dealer invoice for the price of my car. Now, at the time of purchasing my car, there was no rebates. There really was no factory incentives. It was a brand new model, brand new car. There was no reason to incentivize it, so there was nothing. There was no rebate. I think there was not even loyalty. If there was, it was maybe $500. No special financing rate, so 3.9, 4.9 was going to be the best I was going to do. But on the lease program, there was quite a bit of lease cash. At the time, it was, I believe, $7,600. So I got a really good deal on my car. I took the advantage of the lease program, and I always kept getting questioned the entire time I owned my vehicle, because I had 50,000 miles in it within just over a year, of why I would lease my car, knowing there's mileage restrictions on a lease, if I knew I drove that much. Because on average, I drive about 30 to 40,000 miles a year. On that particular one, I drove it cross country. That added 8,000 miles to my annual driving. So that's why I ended up around 50,000 miles per year on the last one. So I leased it because I knew that the intention the entire time I bought the car was to buy it out at the end of the lease. If you lease a car, yes, there are mileage penalties if you go over your lease mileage, but that's only if you turn the vehicle back in. If you decide to keep it, yes, mileage can affect your financing on the residual amount, but it's really not that crazy, and it was nothing that I was worried about, because I knew the intention the entire time I had that car from day one was to buy out my lease. So fast forward a year later. Oh, and by the way, when I bought my car, I did put zero out of pocket. I did a 36-month lease. On that lease, I went 15,000 miles a year. And my payment, including tax, with the tax rate being 8 point something out here in California, was $653, $654. And that was my payment for the car. Zero out of pocket, just worked out a good deal on it, and that was my lease payment. So fast forward a year later, I get into an accident, I total out my car, went through the insurance thing. Damages were first estimated at $20,000, but that was just doing a visual inspection on the outside. My insurance company said I needed to take it to an actual collision center, have them take it apart, and do a reevaluation of the estimate. Estimate came back, once they pulled the parts off, at a little bit over $28,000. At $28,000, my insurance company deemed it a total loss. And the way it's done here in California, there's a few different variances in different states. There's different percentages. Some states go 70%, some states go 80%, some states go over 100%. But in California, the way they deem your vehicle a total loss or not is if your total of damages and the total value of the vehicle in its state exceeds the replacement value, then it's deemed a total loss. So they, for some reason, said my car was worth $18,000 wrecked. You combine that with the $28,000, and that exceeded the value that they estimated for the replacement of my car. And then onto those numbers. So they said that my vehicle, with 50,000 miles, being a year old, was valued at $39,326. And that is not a trade-in value. That is not an auction value. That is finding the exact same car, an all-wheel drive GT2 2018 Stinger with approximately 50,000 miles on it, on the market. You should be able to buy one, according to my insurance company, for $39,326. On top of that, they added sales tax of $3,040 and registration of $294. So the total value that they valued my vehicle at was $42,571. From that point, I did have a $500 insurance deductible, so it came out to $42,071. Now, because the way leases work out, and this is why it's a great thing, in my case, there's a lot of lease cash, and you're estimated to balance out at the 3-year mark, at the 36-month mark, and that is when the amount that you theoretically owe on your vehicle versus what it's worth is balanced out. Because the Stinger lease was so heavily cash incentivized, my actual buyout balance on the car was about $37,500. Now that wasn't my balance, that was my buyout. That includes taxes on the remaining balance, because you don't pay taxes on the entirety of the lease, you only pay on the payment. So to pay off my vehicle, it was only $37,500 roughly, which means that I walked away with a check for $4,500 from my insurance company. Pretty good. So I did pretty well as far as that goes. Now that was, again, because of what my balance was. If I would have rolled over negative equity when I first bought the car, if I hadn't worked out such a good deal, those are all things that would have been affected. But $37,500 was what I owed Kia Motor Finance for the remainder of the lease, to buy out the lease. They valued it at $42,000, so I walked away with $4,500. Now, where the numbers get really fun is I had my vehicle for a total of 14 months. So 14 months of $654 in payments equaled out to $9,156. That's how much I paid to have owned my Stinger for the 14 months that I had it. I'm not including insurance or gas or maintenance, anything like that, because those are all unique factors to the owner of the vehicle. But if you take that $9,156, you reduce the $4,500 that I got back from my insurance company, $4,656. That is what it cost me to own and drive a Kia Stinger for 50,000 miles, drive it cross country from here in California to New York, which also stopped at Chicago, Washington, D.C. That was a really fun trip. But that's what it cost me to own the car. Also drove up to Canada one time, because just weird like that, I guess. So $4,500 is what it cost me to own my car for a little bit over a year and enjoy it for 50,000 miles. Now, again, that situation is unique to me because of the way I purchased my vehicle, because of the way I leased it. So that was unique to me there. Currently, in my new Stinger, I chose again to go with the lease. This time it was a little bit more cash incentivized, because I went with a 24-month lease versus the 36 I went on the last time. Same out of pocket, same working out a great deal for myself. My payment is $654. So it's almost as if I hit the reset button, because now I'll have 2 more payments than I would have originally had on my original 36-month lease. I'm on 1 year newer Stinger, 0 miles instead of the 50,000 miles that I was at. I got some upgraded features like the surround view camera system, which is awesome, which is going to come in handy with what a few things I'm doing with the vehicle. I got the wireless charging, heated back seats. So I got a few upgrades going up to the 2019. There was a few 18s left, none in the ceramic silver that what I wanted to stick with. But my situation worked out pretty great. But yeah, those are the numbers. I got $4,500 back from my insurance company. My car's paid off. I'm in a new one, same payment, 1 year newer. And for those that want to check and do some research, if you look for a GT2 Stinger all-wheel drive, you'll only find some with about 20 to 25,000 miles. There isn't any on the market with the mileage that I had, and you'll find those at about a $41,000 to $42,000 retail asking price. Mine went $2,000 down because of the mileage that I had. So in theory, had I not driven the crazy miles that I drove the car in the year, they actually would have been estimated at 44,000 miles. I'm sorry, $44,000. So, yeah, just some interesting numbers there. I am going to modify this one just like I did the last one. I'm going to drive the crap out of this one just like I did the last one. And I'm going to keep enjoying it. I love the car. People are asking me why I went with the same color. Well, it's ceramic silver. It's a great color. I don't know why I want to go with a different color. The car looks great. Yes, it looks great in other colors too. But I personally love the way this looks. I love the contrast with the carbon fiber and with the ideas that I have for the future of the car. Sorry about the shade thing. The sun's in my eyes. Only time I have to record this. But any questions, ask away. Comments down below. Hit the like button, I guess. Subscribe, the whole YouTube thing, I guess. And thanks. Actually, one last thing. As far as the damage on the car, it wasn't crazy damage. Yes, it was around the vehicle. Yes, it was a little extensive, but it wasn't anything crazy. So what that meant is I was able to remove just about almost everything off of the last Stinger, with the exception of the arc coilovers. 2 of them were destroyed, 2 of them were fine, but you can't really buy them individually, so didn't try to save the 2 that were there. My Keen Design wheels, I had those for the last year. They were amazing wheels, lightweight, made the car look great. But 2 of those were damaged. 2 of them were fine. I could have bought those individually to replace the 2 that were damaged and salvage 2. But the cost in replacement versus my future plans that I have with the car and with Keen didn't quite make sense financially to do. And then the other part that wasn't able to be salvaged was the Spreak carbon fiber lip kit that's sold by Keen Design as well. It actually wasn't damaged, more than some light cosmetic stuff in the accident. But tow truck drivers, they don't care about your cars. So when they moved the vehicle, the front splitter was completely spider cracked in several different places. One of the side skirts, when the body shop removed it, again, they weren't very careful with it because they were just tearing down a car. It also got damaged. It was salvageable in the way that they were all in one piece, but I would have had to have sprayed them black or sprayed them some color to make them look fine because they were just a little too damaged. So those went away with the car. But everything else, I was able to save the arc exhaust. I was able to save the arc hood. I was able to save the save-on trunk deck lid. I was able to save Lap 3 Pro Tuner, of course. It's just, plug-in ECU that plugs in. I was able to save that. Intakes were fine. The intercooler, completely fine. There was no damage on the intercooler. The Velocitake intakes, those were going back in the car. The MGT catch cans, the MGT downpipes, Sprague spoiler, that one was fine. Sure, I'm missing a few things, but like I said, wheels, coilovers, and Sprague lip. The only thing that wasn't saved. Everything else, good to go. I've only to date installed the Pro Tuner on the new Stinger and the carbon fiber hood and trunk, as well as the rear license plate panel that I have now from Save-On. Still in stock suspension, still in stock everything with the exception of the Pro Tuner. I'll be installing everything. There's a lot more to come with the car. Like I said, I had a few things that were already in motion when the other one was destroyed, but ended up with the same car, so what was going to be done to that will now be done to this. But yes, that was the other question that was had about the parts that were on the car. Insurance company was okay with me removing everything. They didn't care that I removed aftermarket items because they weren't insuring aftermarket items. The only thing that they asked for is that the OEM items be put back in the car. So that was done. All the OEM parts that I had, they all went back onto the vehicle. I got all my aftermarket stuff.